Now we are told that there are around 222 commitments that were made back in 2019, as now they're about to review that. But we heard the president suggesting that at least 70% of those commitments have been met. You wonder how, given just the constant criticism when it comes to government, just around the lack of delivering basic services, and the promises now that in the next 9 months, that's what they'll do, deliver the services that have not been met in the last 29 or so years. In fact, I have the spokesperson with me just to maybe navigate through the manifesto. Thank you, spokesperson, for joining us at ENCA. But let's talk about what has the ANC done. We know that there's been a constant criticism of delivering basic services for the last 29 years.
Well, the speech that the president is going to deliver this afternoon will provide an account of the specific areas of the delivery of basic services where the ANC has made achievements. We'll also speak to areas where there have been misses. So look out for the speech, Aviwe. It will cover what it is that we have done to enable a poorer household somewhere in Kandla to have access to a clinic nearby where they're not required to pay for primary health care. It will give an account in terms of figures of those people that have been enabled through expanded access to health care. The speech of the president will also account for how we have extended the social safety net to especially the poorest of the poor, including the most recent 350 relief grant. It will also talk about how many child-headed households have been reached through the interventions of an ANC-led government. We'll speak about water. There are many challenges in the water and sanitation space, but we will give an account of how the extension of water services in South Africa, especially because, to your question, you talk about 1994, how many people have accessed water in their yards since 1994 as opposed to before 1994. I'm going to use another example of analyst Siswana, who says that the ANC did not start the electricity expansion program. In other words, creating greater energy security for South Africans. In fact, they found that being done by the nets. Now, that's a very, very hollow view, because if you were to make such a comparison, it's an unfair comparison when you consider the fact that much of the challenges that we have with energy security have a lot to do with expansion of access to service.
But the president himself mentioned that since 1998, the electricity compound itself wasn't refurbished. He agrees with the analyst that you mentioned in terms of the lack of refurbishments that have been done in the energy space.
Not the essence of that agreement. I mean, the president was on record, and he will do so today, to outline measures that have been put in place to ensure that we have a more qualitative energy security system in this country. But where the president is also going to talk about, you're correct, he definitely has said that infrastructure maintenance has been one of the weaknesses, and I think the ANC has been candid about that.
And you mentioned all these gains, but we're realistically not seeing it playing out on the ground. We're the most unequal society in the world. You talk of unemployment, which is one of the four at these manifestos. It's skyrocketing, especially youth unemployment. And then we're promised that we're supposed to believe. Why should residents and South Africans believe that things are going to change?
Absolutely. That's absolutely correct. To continue to be a hugely unequal society as a country. And there's also nothing that is going to be shied away from unpacking the reasons and the causes of this inequality and the persisting, stubborn challenges of a lack of social compacting, for example, where government and business are clubbing together to address the challenge of inequality, but also where the wider, including the civic movement, the NGO movement, needs to come into the party, because government must act in concert with the people. But of course, these things are much more systemic. They also have to do with balance of power internationally, and all of the reasons why you have countries of the global south coming together to try and see how they can work together to address the stubborn challenge of poverty, unemployment, and inequality.
All right, thank you very much as we wait for the president to deliver the keynote address at 1 o'clock. Mahlengi Bengu, the spokesperson of the African National Congress, as it says that it wants to reflect on the manifesto and those 222 commitments that were made back in 2019 going to the national and the provincial elections. They're saying that they've achieved at least 70% of what they set out to achieve, but a lot is to be said even about that. We heard them admitting to some of the flaws. We're still the most unequal society in the world. Joblessness is skyrocketing, especially youth unemployment skyrocketing. So it's going to be interesting to hear what President Cyril Ramaphosa will have to say to the crowd in Dobsonville at 1 o'clock when he's expected to deliver that keynote address.